Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's very special edition of Talk Wrestling here on NoDQ.com and, of course, NoDQCW on YouTube. I first need to apologize to you guys for being so late in the week with this. To be honest with you, I plan to tape this show Wednesday and get it to Aaron Wednesday night. And then there's been some parental drama, shall we say, around here. And then I went to the Dodger game Wednesday. So I've been trying to, let's tape the show Thursday. And then I woke up Thursday and my back was just screaming, just, oh my God, just I could not move. So I've been to the chiropractor twice this week now. Got me back aligned better a little bit. I'm feeling good, so I figure I'd sit down in front of the camera and make it happen. A little bit of a format change going forward here on Talk Wrestling now that it's just me filming the shows by my lonesome. Aaron is up in Portland, Oregon, and doing very well. I'm so happy for the boss. What we're going to do is, in addition to your mailbag questions, which I'm going to get to thanks to Twitter, don't worry, figured I'd do a little TV review, talk about Raw, talk about SmackDown, and yes, I'll talk about Impact, because I did watch Impact. I'm watching Impact every single week. I'm making it a point to watch Impact, because Lord knows I need to appeal to my TNA fans as well, because a lot of you guys watch TNA, a lot of you guys want me to talk about TNA, so I'm going to talk about TNA as much as I remember. Now, keep in mind, I watch all these things either live as they happen or on DVR, and they kind of just at the brain, especially this week's shows. Because while granted, TNA's ratings went through the roof thanks to a particular match, which I will talk about, the WWE shows really didn't do anything to impact storylines overall this week. So let's get into it. Raw and SmackDown, both of them were, as the boss so eloquently put it, lame duck shows. Aaron mentioned this on Twitter because people were complaining to him. They were saying, why was WWE so bad this week? Why would they not try to better the storylines? And you gotta remember, everybody who was anybody Monday night was out of their house or in front of their TV watching fireworks because it was Independence Day. It was 4th of July. Me, I spent the day watching Independence Day, which I finally got on DVD at Walmart. Yay. Thanks to my dear mother, who actually, her birthday was yesterday. So happy birthday to my mom. She turned none of your damn business. How old she turned. How young she turned, I should say. I've got to be respectful. Anyway, I watched Independence Day, and then I went out and watched fireworks over at our local mall here, which I've been a part of for the last 2 years now. I had fun. I watched Raw when I got home Monday night, which was about 10 o'clock, so it was almost over anyway. So I started from the beginning and watched the whole show. Even watched commercials because my son was awake. Dylan wanted to watch commercials too. So I figured, okay, we'll just sit there. We'll get some work done. We'll get some questions sorted out for this week's show, which I thought was going to tape the next day. Didn't happen. I was not impressed by Raw. The main event had a feel-good moment because Zack Ryder got the huge win, and he and Big Show were celebrating, and then Zack continued the SmackDown, and he continued the American feel, and challenged Rusev for the U.S. Championship. And it's so awesome that Zack is getting new entrances and a new and improved Zack Ryder, because Lord knows we all sat there in March at WrestleMania or April, whatever the hell it was this year, and we're cheering for Zack, and he won the championship. He cost Aaron his entire facial hair and his hair on his head, and then they jotted him out to The Miz the very next night. So that was terrible what they did to Zack Ryder. So hopefully Zack will get the feel-good moment. I have not read No DQ today. There was a report on Battleground U.S. Championship. I have read it. Sorry, boss. Fire me. What are you going to do? Hopefully Zack will get the U.S. Championship shot at Battleground, if not SummerSlam, and we'll get that feel-good story with the man from Long Island, New York. Other than that and the continuation of Ambrose and Rollins minus the suspended Roman Reigns, nothing on Raw or SmackDown really stands out to me. I mean, we had the food fight, and that carried over into SmackDown, and Miz is upset, Maurice is upset, and and Kevin Owens is legitimately pissed off, I guess, about the food fight thing, or at least his character is. And I'm hesitant to say this, but Kevin Owens is growing on me. He really is starting to make me smile when it comes to his commentary and his promos. He's easily becoming one of my favorite mic guys, and that's a scary thought because I've never liked Kevin, but he's entertaining to watch. He was easily the best part of that Sami Zayn Chris Jericho match on SmackDown last night, easily. And it just he's hitting his groove just over a year in to the main roster stay. And I think that's awesome for him. I hope that he gets some sort of a... There's a question on an episode of Talk Wrestling. I don't know if I'm going to tape that one today or later on down the line. But what about Lesnar and Owens? I mean, that is something that we would never even think about a year and a half ago because Owens was the NXT champion and Lesnar was Brock Lesnar. And we'll talk about Brock today, too. I have a question about UFC 200, which is tomorrow. And we're going to talk about UFC 200, too. I don't know if Lesnar Owens would be a viable solution now, but we'll see what happens. I'll address that on a later episode. Anyway, like I said, Raw and SmackDown were kind of holding pattern this week. They really didn't wow me, and the ratings showed that for Raw at least. I haven't seen the SmackDown ratings yet. I can't imagine they're good because other than the announcement that Randy Orton will face Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, there was no real appeal to watch SmackDown. And if you read spoilers morning of or from Canada the night before, you knew that was going to happen already. So there's no real reason to tune in to USA on Thursday night this week to get that announcement because we already knew it was going to be Randy Orton. So, and then there was TNA. And yes, I watched Impact just to see what the Hardys were going to do to one another. But you know what really stands out to me right now on Impact? And this is going to be completely selfish and completely, what's that word? Really want to stay in your country. What the hell's that word? Can't look it up because the phone's being used. Anyway, Eli Drake, baby. Sean Ricker. One of my favorites ever. I don't mean just in Southern California or just in TNA. I mean ever. Eli Drake is continuing to impress with his TNA run. He's still within the, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Sorry, Dave. He's awesome. And he's been awesome. He was Percy Pringle's last official client before the man better known as Paul Bearer passed away, which was over 3 years ago, if you can believe that. He's been gone 3 years. That's crazy. But I have always liked Sean Ricker. I have a good friend of mine in the Indies, Heather Lynn, who is a good friend of Sean Ricker's, and her daughter calls Eli Drake Uncle Sean. And he's great. And I love that he's the King of the Mountain champion. I hope he's one day the world champion. He is my favorite part of Impact right now. The World Championship picture, we all want Eddie Edwards to win the world title because he's been Ring of Honor World Champion. He's a great X Division wrestler. But I can't in any way up in this ginger brain of mine think that he's going to defeat Lashley this coming, I believe it's this coming Tuesday. He's going to be, because Tuesday's last Impact on Tuesday before they move to Thursday the week after, which was an announcement this week that they're moving to Thursday because of SmackDown. Well, that's not why they said they're moving, but that's why they're moving. Anyway, I want Eddie Edwards so bad to be the world champion. I've always liked Eddie. He's been awesome to watch. I think even my ex liked Eddie Edwards, and she was very picky about who she liked and who she didn't when she watched wrestling full time. But I like Eddie, but I don't see him being the one to destroy the Destroyer. I think they're going to continue with Lashley as a champion going into probably even the Bound for Glory in October, because they don't really have anybody other than the usual suspects, Drew Galloway and EC3, who can really step up and combat Lashley for the World Championship. And it wouldn't surprise me if one of those two guys ends up being the guy to dethrone Lashley. But you know what? They may throw us a curveball on Tuesday night. We'll see what happens when the Ultimate X winner Eddie Edwards, the X Division champion, goes title for title with Bobby Lashley or Lashley for the World Heavyweight Championship. My question with WWE is why, even on the 4th of July, when you're going to combat fireworks, you're going to combat people not being home, and combat people watching Independence Day and watching stuff on TV, do you have a lame duck show with just over 2 weeks to go until the first live SmackDown officially, and the new draft and the brand extension and the whole thing? Excuse me. Why I understand that they need to do something where they just kind of hold things in place and let this show happen, because they have to produce a show, they have to get the advertisements in, they have to get the money made off there and get the show produced and whatnot, continue the storylines. They didn't continue storylines. They really didn't advance anything except Ryder this week. Zack Ryder was the star of this week's episodes of television, because you had storyline advancement, and then SmackDown kind of they went a little bit with a Canadian trio at the very end of the show, but there really wasn't anything that really stood out to me. And when you have a show this close to one of your monumental shows in your company's history, because remember how big a deal the draft was in 2002, when Linda McMahon sat just like this, looked right at that camera and said, we're going to have a draft, and we're going to have a brand extension, we're going to have 2 different rosters for both shows. And it was a huge, the CEO of the company told you that's what's going to happen, and that's what happened. Now it's like, okay, do we even care? I care about the draft, I care about the brand extension, but for me, I didn't see a reason based on this week's shows to want to see what happens next. And that's the whole point of Raw and the whole point of SmackDown to a certain extent, is to make me want to come back to my TV over there Monday night at 8 o'clock and sit my butt down and watch Raw and see what happens next. I don't care based on this week's show. And that's dangerous for WWE, because I'm not the casual fan that goes away and comes back or whatever. I'm the guy that sticks through the hard times. I did it during WrestleMania season, and that was my mistake, because it got better after WrestleMania. But now that I've come back and I've been sitting here for 2.5 months talking to you guys every week and doing Talk Wrestling with Aaron when he was here, and then doing this week's show by myself, the first show I do by myself, and it's like, okay, WWE didn't even talk about. WWE gave me no content to work with. WWE gave me no real oomph to discuss. TNA, unintentionally or not, gave me material. I get that the Hardys, especially Matt, it seems like, are at the tail end of their big run in wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it. But the shit I saw Tuesday night, I actually watched it Wednesday night on Impact, was by and large the hokiest thing I have ever seen in my 25 years of watching WWE. And that is saying something, because for me, I watched the Gobbledygooker debut. Okay? That was an experience in and of itself. That was something. I just don't see a need for me to really care about WWE. About TNA, because their main attraction on Tuesday night show was a hokey, awful presentation that was complete movie making and not anything really special in the ring. Wrestling, whatever else, or sports entertainment, whatever else it needs to be at least occasionally, or more often than not, I should say, believable. And when Broken Matt took out Brother Nero And then Willow emerged from the water, and then Matt still managed to defeat Jeff and take away the Hardy last name from the charismatic Enigma. It's like, if it's me, I don't want to sit there and watch this show if that's going to be the main event. I don't want to watch. I don't want to do it. All right. Before I get into the questions, because I am going to talk about the questions today. That's I promise. I wanted to update everybody on DDP Yoga, because I've been a lot of tweets saying I look healthier and I look better. The problem is, and I love you guys for boosting my confidence, all you're seeing is the bust shot. Down here, where it counts, and down here, where it counts, it's bad. It's still not, the 7 pounds that I lost, I've probably gained back at least half of it. And that's not entirely my doing, because there was a car accident a couple weeks ago that I can't talk about because I have a case pending. But I will say that once the chiropractic care gets further along, there will be a resuming of the DDP Yoga. I did lose 7 pounds in the first week, and I was so impressed. And so was DDP, apparently. Both he and his DDP Yoga Twitter pages followed me back. So I've been talking to him back and forth, and talking to the DDP Yoga people back and forth about what I can do to continue the workouts while my back is rehabbing and going to the chiropractor, and trying not to take as so many ibuprofen pills, which is bad. But it's going okay. Aaron's been doing the yoga up in Oregon, and it's funny. He just keeps telling me that, in 6 months he wants to be doing this, and this, and I go, Rift, I'm still doing the chairs. I'm on beginner here. The whole Black Diamond, or whatever the hell it's called, is just not going to happen for a while. 6 months is an attainable goal, but if my back continues the way it is, it's not looking good. But I will keep hope alive. I will listen to the tweets I get back from you guys saying how good I look and how healthy I look. I am happier. I'm doing much better up here, so that's always good. Mental health is a key thing in any sort of life. No matter what you want to do with yourselves, you want to make sure your brain and your conscience are clear, because that'll help you leaps and bounds. All right, let's get to the questions. I know, very high tech, right? This is from Billy at X Part-Time God. Wow, interesting handle, Billy. How do you think WWE would handle Brock Lesnar losing at UFC 200? The fact that they've announced that Orton will be facing Lesnar at SummerSlam is a key component to what happens this Saturday up in Vegas, or wherever the hell it is. Brock's opponent on Saturday, Mark Hunt, is legitimately pissed off at Brock Lesnar and at UFC for Lesnar not following the usual protocol as far as the drug tests, and Hunt's under the impression that Lesnar knew far more in advance than he did about the fight. And UFC in general is a little batshit crazy right now, because if you notice, we have a change in main event because of a certain John Jones screwing his life up again. It should be very interesting to watch overall on Saturday. I'm going to be down at Buffalo Wild Wings, putting my $5 cover charge, and probably buying a soda or 3 to watch the fights. I am interested in Brock's fight. I do want to see Brock hopefully win and carry that into SummerSlam. If he were to lose, I don't think WWE really would care, because whatever happens in the Octagon, Brock is still the beast incarnate in WWE. He's still the guy. As far as, not the guy, because that's Roman Reigns, sorry. Whoopsie. Brock's still the man. He's still the main guy. And again, the man is Seth Rollins. I just keep spouting off shit that's not true. I'm just having a good old time with this question. So thank you, Billy, for your question. I'm interested to see what happens on Saturday, but I don't think him losing in the Octagon will affect his WWE performance or his WWE storylines. Jonathan Smith at Evil_Smith. Evil Smith, maybe? Don't know. I want to know what your thoughts are on the Cruiserweight Classic and who you think will win. I personally am saying Ibushi. Well, I'm going to be honest, and that's just the way I have to do this show, and what I'm about to say is not going to surprise a lot of people, in that I have not really read up on the Cruiserweight Classic. I have been trying to, what's the word I'm looking for as I type stuff? There's Cruiserweight Classic. There we go. What I would like to personally see is let's see. Where's my bracket? There's my bracket. I would like to see a guy who legitimately deserves to win. And personally, I think it should be one of two guys. And unfortunately, they're facing each other later this month in a second round match. So one of my two picks is going to be knocked out right away. And it's two guys that have both been involved with wrestling for a while. Not so much the other one, but not so much the other, although the other one is engaged to one of my favorites of all time. The two I'm talking about are TJ Perkins and Johnny Gargano. These two guys are going to face off this month. Not on the network. The network's going to have the first round matches. Those are already going to air, and I'm spoiling stuff as I say this, so sorry. TJ is one of those guys who has put in his dues literally his entire, and even before his adult life started. TJ is awesome, and he should win the whole damn thing. If he doesn't win the whole damn thing, Johnny Gargano definitely deserves it also, because Gargano is just, he's a phenomenal, not to steal on some of AJ's toes, but he's a phenomenal athlete, is Johnny Gargano, and he's an awesome competitor. Another guy I'd like to see honestly win, there's two returning guys. Tajiri, who might get a full-time return to WWE out of this, whether he wins or not. And the same thing goes with the Brian Kendrick. Another guy who would be awesome. I'd love to see him make an impact, no pun intended, on WWE. Kendrick or Tajiri make that impact. But I personally am picking the winner of TJ Perkins and Johnny Gargano. That's my pick for the Cruiserweight Classic. Let's see, already that's that. Mr. Yuck, your thoughts on the Shield's hot potato with the World Heavyweight Championship? Each deserves their moment, yet how is it new era material? Is Russo back? No, Vince Russo's not back. He's made that more than clear in his post recently that he's not consulting for either company. He's just kind of doing his own thing, his own blog, his own show, and everything. I did not have, people were kind of it was very polarizing. People either really loved the fact that all three members of the Shield won the championship that night, or were champion that night, and some people were like, it's bullshit, no way, more guys deserve it. No, they don't. Those three guys, when they debuted almost 4 years ago, were deemed the future. And they are the future. They are the present. They're not the past. That's Cena and Orton and even Lesnar to a certain extent. The Shield members are the future and the present of this business, and of WWE in particular. And the fact that all three of them at one point held that WWE Championship in their hand that night signifies that they are the promised land. They are where Vince McMahon and Triple H and everybody that runs that company is looking to go. I have zero problem with the hot potato, and I hope that Seth Rollins regains the championship at Battleground. That's just my prediction. I'll give Battleground predictions, I think, with Aaron when we tape next week. Don't quote me. Maybe 2 weeks, whatever it is. This is from Matt Big 123. How would you book Bayley on the main shows? It depends what happens with Sasha and Charlotte. I think if Sasha, or hopefully when Sasha becomes a champion against Charlotte, and you call Bayley up, then you have the epic rematch series. Because those two girls had an unbelievable match at TakeOver Brooklyn. They had an even better, I dare say, match at TakeOver Respect, I think it was. The Iron Man match, the 30-minute Iron Man match between the two. So, for me, I would call Bayley up to challenge Sasha. when she becomes champion. That's what I would do. This is from William Love at XChiliWilly90X. At Battleground, Zayn and Owens wrap up their feud. Do you see them moving on and forming a team and winning the tag team championships? There is a very interesting proposition. I kind of like that. That'd be kind of cool to see Owens and Zayn do their thing together, because they're former Ring of Honor tag team champions, former PWG tag team champions. They've had a great feud on the indie circuit. They've had a great feud in NXT, have a great feud going in WWE, but it's supposed to be the final encounter between the two. Now, if it is the final encounter at Battleground and they go their separate ways in the brand extension, then this tag team talk is null and void, because they're not going to put two guys that are on different rosters as in a tag team to challenge whoever the champions come SummerSlam or the next pay-per-view. So it all depends on the brand extension. If they stay together on the same brand, that'd be cool to see. All right, last question today comes from Lee at Numb Tapestry. What are your thoughts on Talk is Jericho and the interview with Nancy Benoit's sister? Well, I figured I'd end with this because Talk Wrestling, just under 9 years ago, started with a Chris Benoit topic and started with Nancy Grace's coverage of Chris Benoit's passing and the murder, suicide, and whatnot. So I was legitimately surprised and happy that Chris Jericho spoke with Nancy's sister. I don't remember her name, and I apologize for that. Everybody that watched it and wanted to hear my thoughts on her name, I don't know her name. But it was very interesting that Chris was able to go outside the WWE box, so to speak, and let that interview with somebody that was right there on the front line, so to speak, talk about Chris's last days and how Benoit was and how Nancy was and all that. It was very, very almost numbing to read that transcript. Very surprising that WWE, I know WWE doesn't control Jericho's talk show, but he is still a WWE superstar, so I was surprised that they were allowed to even go there on the show, and I applaud WWE, and I very much applaud Chris Jericho for having the balls to approach that very taboo subject. Well done, Chris. I'm so happy for that. That's it for Talk Wrestling this week. Super long show this week. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you guys next week when we talk about the draft and what's going to go from there. We will see you next time.